Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in theatrical and streaming horror movies and sometimes TV shows. Each week, the Gruesome Magazine Grue-Crew will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are wrapping up Monarch, Legacy of Monsters with episode 9 and 10.
Without Dave.
And how did this season do? We're going to share it all here next. Joining me tonight are my Grue-Crew, starting off with my co-host, Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great. And my new mantra is, if it defies logic, beyond logic lies truth. That's
right.
my new mantra.
If the shoe fits, the wig
It makes
flips.
people really mad, though.
Also joining us
big
tonight is the one and only Chad Hunt, who does everything in the world. How you doing, Chad?
I'm good. I'll even do Dave for tonight.
Nah.
How's everybody doing? Poor Dave, man.
The man with the profile. All right, how you doing, Chad? Life's good?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Oh, are you excited to talk about Monarch?
Heck yeah.
What Jeff's down there doing?
The people upstairs are thumping around. I'm like going.
I know, but the way you looked at it looked like you were doing a Brady Bunch or something. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the card, shall we? Now, let me explain what we're going to do because I got ahead of myself. Thank you, Jeff. What we're going to do is we're going to give you the first impression of these two episodes. Those first impressions will be spoiler free, but you've watched the show, so you know what we're going to be referencing. Then we'll talk about the shows, and we will get into spoilers. There are spoilers to be had. I might even let one slip here in just a minute, and then we'll wrap things up with our scores 1 to 5 and our favorite scenes. It's going to be exciting. We hope you enjoy not only this review but many others that we have on the site. Please hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend button. Every click, especially a subscribe, will help us find more horror fans just like you. All right, and the card says Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. It's a 2023 show that ended in 2024. It began streaming on AppleTV Plus on November 17th, 2023. 10 episodes. We are doing episodes 9 and 10. Episode 9 was Axis Mundi. Shaw and May search for Cate and make a startling discovery, while Kentaro struggles with his loss. In episode 10, titled Beyond Logic, it's the season finale. The team struggles to find a way out of Axis Mundi. Kentaro and Tim make an unexpected alliance. Both episodes are directed by Andy Goddard. It's developed by Chris Black and Matt Fraction, written by Matt Fraction and Mariko Tamaki. The cast includes Anasawa Sawai, one of those three, probably not none of them. Kersey Clemens, Ren Watabe, Mari Yakamoto, Anders Holm, Joe Tippett, Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell, Takahiro Hira, Kyoko Kudo, and Christopher Heyerdahl, among others. All right, let's do this, shall we? And the crowd goes wild. Yes, that made me stand up and cheer and thump my chest as well. How about you, Chad?
It sure did.
All right.
Even now, watching it
even now, it was a great way to end the series. Sorry, I had to let that one spoiler go because it's just so awesome. Let's begin with our first impressions. Chad, why don't you start us off?
They kind of ran together since it's been
a while. Yeah, we'll just do it as one episode.
I didn't get to rewatch again, but the guys they make it back down to what is it called?
Axis Mundi. Yeah, that's what they label it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we find out what's going on there, and we find out a little bit how it works. down there, a little bit how time works, and I'm probably explaining things that going on between both episodes. But I think the final 2 episodes to me could have stood as one big, giant, epic episode anyway, for season finale anyway.
Sure could have. Yeah.
Just great stuff going on, and just when you think, or I'm trying not to spoil anything right now, but the thinking about how we were talking about would there be a season 2 and this kind of thing. Well, that's answered for us at the very end, but it seemed like to me the ending was missing a little something. I can't. We got to get into spoilers, right?
You did.
I'm going to tell it all, but yeah, I'm just going to say this: I really enjoyed it. I really liked where it went, with the exception of a few little things, and just a great show, great ending, great ending to it. I wasn't expecting the ending for episode 10. I wasn't expecting that at all. I'm go ahead, Jeff. I'm gonna end up spoiling something.
You liked it. Hey, Mikey, he liked it.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff Mohr, sir, what was your first impression of the final 2 episodes of Monarch: Legacy of Monsters?
Well, I've absolutely loved it, and I'm befuddled a bit because I've spent a little bit of time on social media running across people that are just bashing the hell out of it, and I don't understand, because it appears that they prefer anything with the name Toho on it, regardless of the quality. They like the 60s and 70s goofy, funny stuff before, and this is like this is about the people. Blah. So anyway, I got that off my chest. Open up a little bit, get into a story. There's not as much kaiju or titans as there are in some of the movies, but God, this is good. This is so good. The way they wrap everything in and the way they tell things. And a lot of times you get key information just in passing comments as people are like walking from here to there or looking for Cate or whatever they were doing. And I love that. You had to really pay attention. We do get some kaiju action. We get some science fiction-y stuff. We run into the evil that's more evil than Monarch. And that great ending that you spoiled there, Doc. And all through this series, they had great cliffhanger episodes. I thought there would be like a reveal that you couldn't wait to see what happened, right? Mm-hmm. And the one that led into episode 9, or maybe it was at the end of episode 9. I think we tried to record this once before, and we had technical troubles. But I feel like we already talked about episode 9 because I know about it while we were. The end of episode 9, it has a great reveal.
They kind of have a great reveal at the end of every episode. They built
They
it.
do.
That way, yeah.
Well, but we're talking about 9 and 10. So anyway, I loved it. I loved it. Things that we talked about earlier going, oh, I wish that hadn't happened. Maybe they'll come back, and I don't know. We got a lot of our wishes, I think.
Except one. There's one major wish, but I guess it had, I guess it had to happen. I absolutely loved these final 2 episodes. 10 even more than 9. 10 was so incredible. It built up to this, it had so much stake. It had so much, we were so invested with these characters, both because our stories collided, because we've been following 2 stories. They collided, spoilers, but it was so, I don't know. I just felt so emotional into it. And there's a point, and we'll get it in the spoilers, where one character is trying not to reveal something to another character, and it is. I mean, I was almost in tears. It was so emotional. It was so well done, and it wouldn't have been like that if we didn't have these characters. So to kind of wrap it back to what Jeff was talking about, that for this show, this is built as a show, and it ties into the movies, yes, but it is definitely one of the best written and executed shows, especially shows about kaiju and titans and monsters. I absolutely adored the show, and the finale, episode 10, just was a joy to watch. It won me over. There's only one element, but it structurally, story-wise, it makes sense. But in my heart, it needed to end a different way. But we'll talk about that here in a second. And of course, it ends on the last character that we definitely wanted to see, and we got to see him. So that was incredibly and just incredibly satisfying. This was. I think that's a great way to say, to describe it. It was very satisfying. I thoroughly loved this series, and I do hope we get a season 2. There's nothing is written in stone. They certainly left it so we could, but at the same time, it's also left in a way that they don't necessarily have to. But
yeah, that's true too. But are we going to get into spoilers?
We're into spoilers, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it.
Go for it.
Well, the way that it ended, you're right. They don't need another season if they wanted that, because it goes right into Godzilla, King of the Monsters, that movie. But it tells, like we talked about this a lot at the beginning, that this was. Because a lot of the media outlets, and they were saying, "Oh, a Godzilla TV series coming to Apple TV," but this is not a Godzilla TV series. It's a series about Monarch and the characters of Monarch, and the kaiju are just sort of side characters, players in the whole thing, who show up in.
But we do get Godzilla, though.
Oh yeah, we get plenty of Godzilla, but it's just enough. It's just enough to keep the story going and keep everything interesting. But yeah, this was very, very satisfying. But I think if they want to go into a season 2, they can, and I hope they do, because I think that would be an interesting story to tell as well. And continue with these characters.
So would
go from here?
Would that be a parallel to King of the Monsters, where you're tracking what's happening to King Kong while King of the Monsters is going on?
Yeah, or right before. Yeah. Because he's on Skull Island now at the end of episode 10.
Well, I thought he was on their made-up thing with the dome over it, like they show at the beginning of.
Oh, I don't know. I thought maybe they had set up something on Skull Island, and then
I thought it said Skull Island when they popped out. So
maybe you had to transport him back to wherever.
Maybe it explains why he had to leave the island and go there. Yeah. So,
because
but maybe he might be right.
Well, maybe Skull Island had that dome on it. It's been a while since I watched it, but
well, they did have to ship him somewhere. Yeah. So, but he didn't seem too upset by being. I know he was tranquilized, but he didn't seem very upset by being transported on that boat
until
Godzilla came.
Until stuff hit the fan, yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you, Doc. There was when they finally found Cate, and Kurt Russell sort of hid behind a tree
because he didn't want to know that he was.
He didn't want her to know how much he had aged. Yeah. And didn't want to shock her with that news that so much time had passed. The acting in that was so good. So that was one of Kurt Russell's best performances, I think.
Oh, yeah, when his voice breaks and he chokes.
Yeah, it almost made me cry. And people, it's just a TV show. Well, I was invested in this TV show.
Yeah.
And I don't get why a lot of people are bashing this, because it is a very well done drama. These characters, I feel for every one of them. I might not like some of them, but I'm I don't like them in a way that I'm still invested in them, you know.
Mhm.
So I don't get the hate for it. I really don't. And I'm sometimes thinking it's from people who grew up in that era of Godzilla where it was goofy and silly and never saw any of the other.
And of course, we did get Godzilla -1, which is a Toho film and is incredibly
And
great. But to me, it's almost great in the same way this is. You know, the characters are so much better.
Like the first Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah. And we do get. I mean, we get a whole gaggle of different monsters here. We get, you know, even in the last episode alone, we get the flying monster. Godzilla makes this great reappearance out of the little ray sunshine thing coming down, and then of course the little snippet at the end, which was
make short work out of that thing.
Yeah,
they call it the something dragon. I can't remember the first.
They vomited all over Godzilla.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. You know, all these guys you have powers. Mine's vomit.
Nope. That's still just
I have a question for you.
Tore his wings off, didn't
he? The opening scene of episode 9 is where they're showing where Shaw gets dropped down. You know, they've got that. The whole idea is they have this gamma ray. It's like a lure for the Titans, and in order for them to go down through the rift, the Titan has to come up and stabilize it first. So they do this lure, and then when the Titan gets far enough up, they shut it off, and then they drop it down and follow the Titan. Wow, what a I don't know how to describe it. A whipped up catastrophe that was. It was sparks flying, wind blowing, people hanging on the sides of buildings, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. At the end, you know, the way that framework was breaking, I'm going, okay. Could there be an invisible Titan? I don't know. They have powers, right?
Yeah.
But that stuff was getting torn apart.
Id from Forbidden Planet, right? Or something.
Yeah.
For me, it's all about the emotion that's wrapped up in the characters. I liked all the motivation of our, you know, the 4 key characters that were down in Monday trying to get out. You know, there's all these bonds and, you know, I'm your granddaughter kind of thing. And, you know, just like, there's so much emotion going on. And then up above, you know, you've got her brother teaming up with Tim, trying to find a way to rescue him, you know, going against Monarch and having to look elsewhere for help and, you know, getting his father involved. And, you know, so there's all this powerful motivation to get them back. And of course, when they come back up, it's been 2 years?
That's what I was into. I was into the whole. I mean,
how long is it going to be?
But I was into the science part of it too, because you guys tell me you had to be thinking that, because Shaw tells her at one point, we got to hurry up. Because the longer we're down here, the longer we're down here.
Yeah, I know. What?
And he goes, don't worry, you'll get it. And so then from that point on, I'm thinking, how much time is going by upstairs? You know, while they're going.
Right. Well, he said he had been gone for like a week.
And she was gone for 3 months. 3 months, right? Or 2 months. 57
days.
56 days. So, a little over a month.
Which ended up being 56 years. So
wow.
And I think it varies. It probably varies. And then you see her. Before she goes into shock, she goes into scientist mode. Oh yeah, with the gravitational distortion.
Yeah. So that means how old is Godzilla, right? So
it was great.
And that, speaking to that sphere that they went down in, that makes a pretty good explanation for, you know, we always wonder why the kaiju were attacking, and it was always around the 40s and 50s. Well, the atomic age came about, and so when all these new atomic weapons and stuff, that's lured them to the surface. That's a good explanation. I don't think we've ever heard before. I know that the nuclear power mutated a lot of those animals into becoming kaiju, but I feel like this is the first time it's been given a pretty concrete as a pretty concrete reason for why these kaiju started attacking in the modern day.
At least in the MonsterVerse.
Yeah.
In their universe, which which these little teleportation tunnels are unique to MonsterVerse.
So apparently they have to follow the kaiju down the rabbit hole, so to speak, because it shifts and expands according to the kaiju who's coming up out of the tunnel or whatever.
Yep.
So they have to follow the kaiju back while the tunnel's accommodating the kaiju.
But they figure that out by the time we get to Godzilla versus Kong, because they have the ships that can do it without them. So, which is interesting. And then we'll find out more this summer, this spring, actually.
So there's a whole thing that they could be covering in the next season.
Spring?
We got Godzilla X Kong.
Oh, okay, that's a spring.
What is it?
Okay.
What is it?
Some Kingdom.
Yeah. So so we'll have a follow up of some sort with that. It'd be interesting if any of our characters show up in the movie. I doubt it, but it'd be interesting if they did.
Well, I love that. Just what you guys are talking about with relationships. I love the conversations, like everything from the conversation that young Bill Rand and General Puckett had when Puckett tells him he's shutting it down.
Oh yeah,
and they have this great conversation, where the general, he shows himself to be an okay guy, not just,
right.
He just says, look, you already lost your wife and your best friend. Don't lose your son too.
And he goes, he was my friend too. So
yeah, and then when Shaw wakes up after he comes up and he grabs the nurse and is yelling, get me Bill Randa, get me Bill Randa. And he's walking down the hall and he looks in the thing, and on the TV news the shuttle's blasting off, and he does kind of a double take. I mean, it just, like, you don't even have to, they don't go into this big long exposition about it. They just,
that's a cool thing, because you let the audience figure that out through the story, and not stand there with a talking head going, "You are down there for 5 years," and
that's the best way to do exposition, right? Is through the story, not through talking heads.
Mm-hmm.
Although they do take the time to kind of elaborate with conversations.
Well, then they also explain that thing when he says, "Where did I? I don't know what happened. I was down there, and all of a sudden I woke up here." And Hiroshi says, you came up in the woods outside this. What does he call it? Zumo. That is inside a shrine that they believe is the boundary between worlds of the living and the dead. And then he uses, when we found a rift in there, and then he used the word mythography, which is cool. I love sort of a whole mythology thing. But it made me wonder about, so Hiro treated Shaw so badly. He's all Monarch, and my parents were crazy and ruined everything, and you all abandoned me, and now I'm sending you off to the Monarch old folks home where you can be drugged and kept under control. That seemed like I was having a hard time figuring out exactly his justification for that. They tried to do it, but that was the one thing that sort of like, and then when he turned around, at some point he turned around and he's fighting for what his parents believed. But he never tries to get Shaw back out again or anything that we know of.
Anyway, maybe he was all his attempts were stopped along the way.
Yeah. But anyway,
start writing that comic book, Chad. The Adventures of Lee Shaw.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the title of that episode. We talked about that Axis Mundi, which I think they explained it. The one, I think, does May say it? But I had to look that up. 20th century comparative mythology, the term Axis Mundi, also called the cosmic axis, world pillar, center of the world, or world tree, has been greatly extended to refer to any mythological concept representing the connection between heaven and earth, or the higher and lower realms.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they said about that shrine,
what was the world
between
tree?
the worlds of the living and the dead. And that's where he comes up.
Yggdrasil or something. The world tree in Thor.
Oh, okay.
But I do love the visuals of the Axis Mundi that we get here, which is far different than what we get in the Kong movie, Godzilla versus Kong, rather. And,
right.
Because it's much more foresty, and we got the crazy mossy creatures with the wooden horns and stuff. The tree looks like tree branches and stuff instead of horns, right?
Yeah. Didn't he say something about this is probably not even what it normally looks like? It could maybe look different 50 miles away, or
well, yeah, because by the time they go to the other place, it's all rocky and cavernous. Where the rift is. There's a lot of fascinating stuff. Really enjoyed.
There's a lot of tied-in stuff, like Shaw's nurse there in the Monarch facility turns out to be Amiko, who is Kentaro's mother.
Wife number 2. Yeah, that was really cool because it took me a while to put that together until the two of them were face to face, and I went, "Oh, look! Oh, I get it!" Because they didn't really tell you, right?
No, they didn't.
They didn't, out and out.
I think when he walks up to apologize to her, he calls her Amiko.
Yeah,
maybe,
that's
when up until then you're just going, I think that looks like her, but I'm not.
Yeah, but even then, if you're not really paying attention, you'll miss that name.
Yeah.
It's so brief. But I just love that they slid that in there, and it just was beautiful. It was a beautiful synchronicity of all the storylines. It was great.
So well written.
For me, again, back to the performances, our lead cast, each of the kids, I think are fantastic. I think both Russells are absolutely brilliant. This is Kurt Russell is giving as much to this project as he would a $120 million picture that he was being paid a gross amount of money for. He really does a great job in here, and especially with episode 10, like we were talking about, it just really comes together. But he plays the hero, he plays the anti-hero, he plays the the softy, he plays it's just really a range. This character is fully developed and rounded, and got a lot going on. He's got this very complex and emotional history, and all these inner conflicts, and bubble to the surface when Kay shows back up. It just really is so well done. The only thing I didn't like was that he sacrificed himself. Why couldn't he get in? Why couldn't they just get him in there? He needed to come out too.
Well, if there's another season,
he could be alive.
He could literally show up.
Be alive.
In the movie 10 years from now, he could show up.
He could. He'd still be the same age.
Everybody else is dead. He shows up. I'm still looking good.
I'm sure he's way too expensive to have. Season after season, I don't know.
Yeah, the opportunity to bring somebody else in. I'm sure there's other similar things that they could pull off.
But man, I hated to see him go. I would love to see him as a mainstay in this.
But I like. Yeah, me too. But I like the conflict. That she says I'm not going. Because she or like a Kay rather, because she says it's been too. You go, no, you got to come back. You got to come back.
Kate takes charge, doesn't she?
Yeah,
she's like, no.
But apparently the ship wouldn't go back without him because he said there's too much weight. Or they were with him if he had got in.
There was something like that.
Too much weight or something, which sounds like a cop out. But
there was four that went down. Maybe they didn't need anything going down. I don't know.
But I hated to see him go.
But I like Kate goes, buckle in.
Yeah.
It's just gonna get real there real quick. But then they pop out at the top, and then you get to see that it's Axis instead of Monarch, and the bad lady comes in from the episodes back where she fired or was after May, and it stirs up a whole lot of mystery at the same time of giving us a really wonderful conclusion, and that's great. Especially when we're talking about we want a season 2, so now
she's the apex winch that later on invents Mechagodzilla, right?
Is she the? I don't know if she's the same.
I don't know if she's the same one. I mean, the head of it in the movie Godzilla versus Kong is Damien Bichir.
Yeah, and he's part of.
He's the head of Apex.
Yeah.
He's like a rich guy. So I think she works for him. His name came up in a prior episode where she was talking to him on the phone.
Yeah.
But,
And they could literally bring him in to the second season, which would be fantastic to have him be a part of it. Maybe they have like a young version of him, an old version, and we get to another parallel story. I don't know. To me, that's landing on Skull Island is just like, okay, now we need to know how Skull Island fits in all this, because
and I thought it was great too, because then it really drives home the point that this is a show about Monarch. There could be any kaiju in there that they want, to tell a story. But I love the way that this series fills in all the gaps between the movies, and this is one of the best shows. I haven't been this excited about a TV series since X-Files. So I loved it. And to everybody that hates it, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for you, but I just loved it. And I'm not one to just goo gaga over every little thing that comes out,
Well, I think you talked about that scene, Doc, where Shaw is revealed to Keiko, right? And she figures out what time it is. I think equally is when Hiroshi meets Keiko.
Oh, after they pop out of the hole?
And he hugs Cate because she's back, and then he looks up and calls her mama, and then just turns into that mother-boy relationship.
He didn't even say mom. He said mama.
Mama, right?
Yeah, I did.
And,
oh man.
And then if that's not enough, Keiko turns around and Cate goes, and here's my brother.
Yeah, no.
She's like, oh, okay, that's one too many. I can't go any further.
Well, that made me feel like, he went back to his boyhood.
Exactly.
When he said mama, because most guys would say mom or mother.
Mother, yeah.
He says mama like he's still, he went right back
hugged
to his
her and collapsed into her was like a little boy.
Yeah.
Going to his mom.
Very heart-wrenching.
Very cool stuff.
Yeah. Very satisfying from an emotional story point of view. Awesome. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our score 1 to 5. I think we're going to, all of us, going to treat this as one single kind of episode of 2 parts.
Sure.
You can do otherwise if you like, and then of course you can pick your favorite scene or scenes, or multiples. Anyway, you don't have to stop. You just mention anything you love. Go ahead, Chad. Your turn.
Okay, these two together. Here's my number. This one I'm giving the 5 to. If I could give it a 10, I'd give it a 10.
There you go.
And my favorite scene was the realization that Godzilla knew that dragon was going to escape through that tunnel with them when they left. And so he appears to like, nah, that's not happening. And just sort of, so we get a good kaiju fight between Godzilla and that dragon.
Yeah,
Godzilla's like, here to take care of business.
What a great emergence, right? What a great scene for him merging out of it. And he's done. Just missing the music.
That was cool too, because they showed that close up of his eye, and that was like he kind of had this eye connection with Cate, right?
Yeah.
And
earlier,
he recognized these people or not. It's kind of cool. But at least that's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah, oh man, I love that. Yeah, it was just so, because we wanted to see him, and when were you going to see him? And when you see his shadow in the light, it's him.
And what a cool way to portray Godzilla as, he can sense these things happening or whatever, or however he senses it, and just takes that tunnel to himself to come take care of business before that monster could come up.
He's the guardian, right?
Yeah,
the guardian. Jeff, sir, what is your score and favorite scene or scene?
I got to go 5 too. And for favorite scene, I'm gonna say
glug glug.
I felt one coming. At the end of episode 9, like earlier on, we talked about how we wished Keiko was still alive. We liked her so much, and she
Mhm.
disappeared right away. And I literally, in this episode, I should have been looking for it, but I wasn't. I wasn't thinking about it at all. And then when that Titan attacks Cate, no,
No, it was May.
it was May.
No, it was Cate. Was it Cate or May? No, it was Cate.
No,
You're right. It's Cate.
May was in Shaw. It was Cate. So
Yeah.
May and Shaw were together. So that Titan attacks Cate, and at the last second, this arrow comes out and zaps it. And that was when I went, oh shit. Then it hit me, and then they showed her standing there like
silhouette too.
It was
awesome.
a great profile of like an Amazon warrior or something. It was just so cool.
Like Indiana Jones on the hill, right?
Yeah.
I mean, great. There's how many cinematic, iconic shots are there of the character in silhouette, and that's what she was at first.
That
great.
Steven Spielberg backlight.
Yeah. That's exactly right. For me, I don't know what people are thinking. This is absolutely 10. By the end of episode 10, I was smiling so big. It was such an emotional ride with these characters and getting to see all the kaiju. I loved the structure of the show where it ended on, these cliffhangers. It felt episodic in that way, in such a great way. As Chad knows, grew up reading comic books, having those cliffhanger endings is what you crave when you buy comic books. You crave this ending that you die in this, get the next issue, and that's what I felt with these 10 episodes. I was always dying to get the next one, and now I'm dying to get the next season too, as well. And
I'm dying to get the Blu-ray.
There you go. Oh man, no kidding. But to me, the cast is wonderful. How can this not be a 5? It just hit all the right notes for me. And for anybody that doesn't, I just don't understand it. But maybe, I guess it's coming from a different angle. I guess I don't know. But favorite scene, I'm not going to do it without getting choked up. It's going to be Shaw hiding behind the tree.
Yeah.
Breaking, his voice breaking, and she's trying to figure things out. And he's, we know, and he knows, and the other characters know, but Kay doesn't. And the other characters are like, "What do we do? What do we do?" There's all this. It's just palpable.
It's a testament to Kurt Russell's acting ability. He's just he's amazing in that scene. Just amazing.
Absolutely. And I'm going to give the props to the director too. Those 2 episodes are really well done. Andy Goddard, I think, did a great job directing those. And if it's not that, it's the Godzilla coming out of the rays is great. And of course, King Kong,
Yeah.
Is he actually called? I'm going to ask you this.
They've just called him Kong.
They've never called him King Kong, right?
Not in the Monsterverse.
So I'm going to tie this into this show that's coming up in the spring, right? Because right now it's he's just called Kong, and then we have the Scar King come up. Well, once the Scar King is defeated, who's the new king?
King Kong.
King Kong. I bet they're going to call him King Kong at the end of that movie, and we're going to get King Kong returns.
Somebody's going to call him King Kong.
Yeah, because that's when he becomes King Kong, right? Oh, I'm calling it now. I'm calling it
beyond me. You're beyond me.
Because we just call him King Kong, right? Because that's what we know him as.
From the original movie,
Yeah. But they haven't been calling him that. It's just Kong, Skull Island, Godzilla versus Kong. But I think once the Scar King is defeated, Kong
is this in the Godzilla X Kong? Or
yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying is going to happen. I'm throwing a prediction. I'm throwing a quarter in the jar.
See, I don't really know anything about that movie. I don't like watching too many trailers of that stuff.
Oh, well,
because I don't want to get it spoiled.
All you need to know about it is that the bad guy is the Scar King. That's all you need to know. And they have to fight. But there's some. I go shut up because there's so much I want to talk about. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me for all 10 episodes of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. This was such a wonderful joy to watch along with you.
It was an amazing series. I'm so glad we covered it.
Yep. And just so we know, There's Godzilla coming out. That's your shot, right?
Yeah.
And then Kong at the end. And of course, there's a great shot of, hey, look, it's still here. Can we rewire this thing? That's great.
It's great.
All right.
He goes to his pod and turns it on and goes, I can't believe this still runs after 50 some years.
Oh, isn't that great? It's like
Keiko goes, actually, it's only been a couple months.
Yeah.
Well, it's true, right? It's only been
is,
on
it
the
is.
I didn't even think about that.
If you guys have not seen this, get your free Apple TV Plus trial, 7-day trial, whatever, and binge it right away. I have Apple because I knew this was coming. And I just,
it's not, they're like 45 minutes a piece times 10 of them, roll right through.
It's like watching, 2 or 3 movies. It's fine. And they're a blast. They go pretty quick and they're intriguing. Yeah, absolutely. Or get the Blu-ray, like you said, Chad, when it comes out.
I can't wait for that. I hope
can't get it from Best Buy,
but
somewhere. Dig.
They will.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's get out of here. Let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.